welcome to another episode of Wedflics. I'm Julia Braime, I'm your host and the founder and editor of Brides Up North, the top UK wedding blog for northern couples, and the editor of glossy Unveiled magazine. Today on the show, I meet Unveiled Network member Rebecca of the Countryside Florist based in Cleveland. We talk all things flower power and about keeping your wedding looking great during every single season. Okay, so hi Rebecca and welcome to the Wedflics show. How are you today?
Hello. I'm okay, thank you. I've done makeup for the first time in God knows how long, especially to see you this morning.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate it over here. You're looking beautiful.
Thank you.
But Rebecca doesn't work in the beauty industry, although you might think she does from that lipstick. Rebecca is a really talented wedding and events florist. Her business is the Countryside Florist. She's one of our Unveiled Network members, and I'm privileged to work with her on a lot of occasions, both like this and in real life. Rebecca, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Countryside Florist and introduce yourself?
Well, hello. I'm sure that you yourself obviously have heard my story before, but lots of people won't have. So I started out when I was 17, trained as a florist, like full qualification, and within a month of qualifying at 18, I'd opened a shop. Just, go big or go home, just go for it. But I think at the time it didn't even scare me because it was like, oh, well, I'll just do it. It's what I wanted to do. Started out in a little rented shop, really cute, did everything, weddings, shop work, like retail and everything, but then it just grew too big for that place, so I bought my own property a couple of doors down, renovated it exactly how I want it, and that's where we are now. And now we just do weddings and events normally in normal non-COVID times. However, at the moment, obviously we've had to diversify, so we are still doing bouquets, deliveries all the time, and that has really taken off. That's been amazing. And like we've had lots of our couples buying flowers because obviously they've had to postpone. So I think for me, I know I'm going off topic a bit there, but
No.
For me, one of the positives of all of this is we always like to build a relationship with our clients anyway, because I think we both get more out of the experience. And when I'm making the flowers, I'm like, oh, she's going to love these. But I think that the amount of people that have had to postpone, and maybe once, twice, three times, they've had more interaction before their day. So we had, 200 and odd people, loads of them were brides and grooms on our wreath workshops at Christmas. And then lots of people have been buying throughout the year. So they've been there to support us throughout and built even more of a sort of a rapport with us, that's less on the side of like a consultation and more like somebody messaging and just saying, oh, I'm just checking in to see how you are. I think I said last time we talked, I was isolating for the first part of the first lockdown, and one of my brides did my food shopping for me.
Oh, that's so nice, isn't it?
So it's that type of thing. Obviously not everybody wants a really special relationship with their florist. They just want their flowers doing and that's that. But I think for people that really do, like, we enjoy it as well. So yeah, that for me, if you ask me one positive from all of this, it is that I've had a bit like more interaction with our clients, and I think that's lovely. Like, I've really enjoyed that. But
yeah, absolutely. I think that's really special. I think a special relationship with your suppliers shouldn't be underestimated, because we're all human beings. Yeah. And when you have that special relationship with a wedding couple, you will go above. I mean, I know you'd go above and beyond anyway because of the way you work. But you will, think, oh, well, she did my shopping for me. Obviously, I'm going to make her wedding flowers incredible.
It's that thing of when you know a bit more about the person that you're making it for. When I'm actually making it, I mean, I always love making them for anybody anyway, but the bridal bouquet, when you're making it, you're imagining that bride walk down the aisle and imagining when I hand it over on the morning of the wedding, and it's just like, you just see it a lot more, and it's it just brings sort of that exciting experience of when you hand it over. I'm imagining that while I'm making it. So yeah, and then I've got my mum behind me saying, "Oh, Becca, she'll love that." And it's lovely. And I think that they get a lot more out of it because they know how much love has gone into it.
Yeah, it's just that added value, isn't it? Isn't it funny that in a time when we're forced to be apart, it's really brought people together? I've seen that so much in our industry, in the wedding industry, just amongst the suppliers in our network. We've all really bonded and come together to support each other. And it's been a huge silver lining in a year that's been really very difficult for many.
I know personally that I'm getting a lot from it, even like I say, just of knowing that there's people there, knowing that you've got that community of people that will understand whatever it is that you need to ask or even vent, because there's always things going on in the industry, and obviously it's work, so it does happen. But I mean, like, I'm not a chatty Cathy on Facebook, on the groups and things. But as an investment, I have absolutely got my.
The point is, you take from it what you need. But anyway, we're digressing. So
I always do. I'm very sorry.
We do, don't we? Let's go back to what we can do for the wedding couples, because this is who this is really for this time. So, okay, I know your signature style of flowers, I think. Yes. How would you describe your style of floristry for weddings? Full
of flowers. That's my style. Full of variety. Obviously, I do make the simplistic. If somebody wants roses, gypsophilia, that sort of thing, I do that. I'm trained in that, and simplistic is lovely. But I think my clients mainly come to me because of the variety that I use. So it's just different. So wild is becoming like one of my most popular styles, because I think that's sort of the trends at the minute anyway. Wild, relaxed, informal rather than sort of structured. But then I think I combine that wild and whimsical style with still having lots of flower and lots to look at, rather than gappy, which some people love that really airy feel. But for me, it still maintains like the integrity of my style and why you come to me. So I just make that sort of boho sort of whimsical, wild, rustic feel come to the Countryside Florist way of still maintaining that it's got a lot of flowers in it, and you get sort of a lot of interest. That's what I've got to say.
Yeah, I'd say that your arrangements and bouquets and installations, because you can't just say bouquet, it's way more than that. They are absolutely bursting with florals. And that's just such added value for your wedding couples. I mean, they really get what they pay for, because it's just sort of an assault on the senses with color. When I think of your work, I think of color, and I think of vibrance, and kind of almost like an overload of florals. But that's amazing. That's what you want from your wedding flowers. You want people to walk into whatever room it is, or see you walking down the aisle with your bouquet and say, wow.
Yeah. That's what anybody wants, and that's especially what the florist wants. They want that people notice them, but obviously, like I say, I put the variety and put loads of flowers in, but I do tailor it to my couple. So if I have a bride that says, well, I want a bouquet that's actually a little smaller than that, or I do want more greenery and less flower, then I will do that. It's no problem. But like if you ask me, like you say, to describe the pinnacle of us, I would say that is, and obviously me, myself, I am very colour. I like lots of colour. But again, sometimes when I'm making the whites and the pastels, I'm like, oh, this is a bit nice as well. I'm maybe a bit torn there. But yeah, clashing colour is, I think, not to be scared of.
No. You know what? Your florals really stand out as a memory for me. And I obviously work with a lot of florists, a lot of excellent florists.
Yeah.
And Rebecca came and she flowered at one of our Wedfest tour events at Hardwick Hall. And I just like to give carte blanche to people who are helping me out. So Rebecca was helping me out and dressing some of our farmyard style tables in Paul Stylish Shades marquee. He's one of our event partners. He does a great job. And Rebecca, I mean, went to town on these installations. I was beaming when I saw them because it was like she brought a rainbow garden with mosses and I know all sorts of stuff. I'm not a florist, so I don't know. Sunflowers, there were some sunflowers. But
I remember that specific one you're talking about. I put a video or photo or something on socials, and somebody had said, I feel like I'm just walking through like the meadow. I was like, well, that's what you were supposed to feel like, so I've achieved it. That's good.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I think that was, I knew of you before, but that was the first time that I'd kind of said, look, Rebecca, just go wild, do what you want. This is your space. And it was a big space to fill. And Rebecca, and then you did like an overhanging thing as well, didn't you? Like an arch thing.
The ladder.
Like a bower.
The company had put a ladder up. So we did the hanging flowers from the ladder.
And it just, honestly, look, guys, if you are listening at home, it looked incredible. And that's when I gave Rebecca kind of just license to do whatever she liked within the theme. And so if I were a wedding couple thinking of booking my florist, that's what I would do. I would give you carte blanche within a colour theme and say, just, do your stuff. Because the thing about you, Rebecca, is you always deliver. You're not looking to cut corners or save costs. You're looking to produce an art piece.
And I always say that in my consultations, the price that I give, once that deposit's paid, that is the price you will pay. So that's, lots of people do it in lots of different ways, but I always look at it based on how I would like to be on the other side, and I would want to know how much I was spending.
Yeah.
So I price it for the absolute creme de la creme of what we talk about, and then, if you need to make any amendments, I'll advise of different places that we can do that. And then going forward then how much it is. So then my agreement there is, on the day if the flowers are more expensive, that's how it is. I take the cost of that and you still get what you've paid for. It just takes out that thing of, I know that some people do it where they'll give you an estimate and then you know the price the month before. And that'll really obviously work well for them, but for me, I like to know what's coming in, they like to know what they're spending, and then they know what they're getting, and there's no surprises, no bad ones. We like surprises of how amazing everything looks. So it's lovely. I think that you've nailed that. We don't cut corners. It's just beautiful all the way.
It really is. But I can say that with confidence. Sometimes I shy away from kind of giving my stamp of massive approval because if something went wrong. But with you, I really can give that stamp of approval because I have full faith and trust in that process. So what is the process of working with you, Rebecca? If someone after this chat or some other way finds you, how did the bride and groom or bride and bridegroom and groom, how did they work with you? What happens?
So my website's the first point of call, because then I think you can have a look at the photos. There's so many photos on there. I've got them separated into colour sections. So if you know that you're going white, then there's an album just for you. So there's plenty to look at. Once you have a look at that and think, she's the one for me, there's a wedding inquiry form on there. And that just asks for everything I would need to know to see if I'm available for your date, because that's the most important bit. It doesn't, none of the other bits matter until we know if I'm available. So that you fill that in, that then comes to me. I can check it against our availability. And then at the moment, obviously, the consults are via Zoom. Normally, in normal times, it would be at my shop studio and my mother would make us a cup of tea. We'd look through photos and we'd plan it all out. But obviously we've had to adapt. So we've done everything via Zoom and it's worked really well because I share my screen so that you can see what I'm talking about, so that you know what bouquet I'm on about to see that I've got what you mean. if I haven't quite got it at that stage, then we just look at other ones and we figure it out. None of what I show you is, I'll have to have that one. Or you have to pick a number 1 or a number 3 or whatever. Because it's individual to you, and we don't want to copy any past brides. We want to take inspiration, so that everybody's an individual. So we just do that. I would say dead informal. I've had brides come in, like, look really nervous, and they're like, I don't know any flowers. I'm like, that's fine. Wow. That's absolutely fine. All I do is I show you, and then you can say, yes, I love that, or no, I'm not keen on that. I'd prefer it a bit brighter, or whatever. So I always say we start with the bridal bouquet because it is the most important. And then from then, everything should flow. Because once you've created the list of what is going in that bouquet, that gives us a guide for what is going in everything else. That gives us our scheme for the rest of it. So it might take a while to get there if you haven't sort of thought of what type of flowers. It can take a while, but we get there. And then I price it all up for you and send out a fully itemised price list, so that you can see everything. There's no sort of hidden costs or anything. And then we go from there. If you want to go ahead, go down the booking fee process, and then that's it. And then along the way, you can have sort of as much or as little sort of input as you need. So you might be somebody who thinks, right, I want to give a colour scheme, like you say, give a colour scheme, basic idea of what I want, but then leave Becca to it. And then I just want a surprise on the day. I've got one couple, actually the couple that did my shopping, he said he just wants it full of flowers. First ever meeting, they'd planned everything. Then after a few months of seeing my work constantly, she actually said to me, I've seen everything you've posted and I don't dislike anything, so please just do what you want.
Yeah, that's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah. So then, that's just how it works. We always would have a catch up, like maybe 2 months or a month before the wedding, just to double check everything. And then I turn up on the day with the flowers, and that's that. Like, obviously, in the months when the weddings are going ahead and it's super busy, like, I focus on the weddings that week. So I'm maybe not always as quick on my emails, but that's what my mum's there for as well. She always vets them, sees if there's any, really, really urgent ones, and then I can, do that. So there's always
your poor long-suffering mum, Rebecca. She's like your girl Friday, isn't she? What's your mum called?
Linda.
Poor Linda.
Oh, she's just popped it. She's not coming on camera, but she's just slunk in. We live next door to each other on a farm. So that has been lovely, this all of this, because obviously we live as a family. But she just slinks in when,
So hi, Linda. Literally,
hello there. There we go.
Hello. Kudos to Linda, who literally, I think, props up the whole operation, to be quite honest with you. She's there for the cups of tea, she's there on the email, she's looking after you, Rebecca, at all times.
Well, I think that's, the cups of tea and emails are great, but I need that, she's I would say my worst critic, because I want her to be, but she's my biggest supporter. Yeah. So if I make something, and 9 times out of 10, if I make something and I'm a little unsure of it, she'll say straight away, nah, you need to change that, or you need to change this. And she's like, she knows she's putting herself in the firing line, because if I'm already unsure of it, I'm not happy. So, but she always will put herself out there to tell me, and then I know it needs changing, so I'll put it right. And she has so much patience with me most of the time, because I can pick up a bridal bouquet and it can go together perfectly the first time and it's wonderful, but then I can get so frustrated with it if it's not going right. I put it down and I will not stop until it's perfect, and that's fine unless you're my mother and you're there until 12 midnight waiting for me to get it perfect. But we do it, and afterwards she always says, you were right to keep going at it till it was right. And that's 10 years, but it still happens. It's still, you're working with a product. So not every rose is on a super straight stem, and not every, do you know what I mean? So it does what might look simple on paper, and you're thinking, oh, it'll take about half an hour. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm here an hour and a half later.
Yeah, well, and doesn't everything always take longer than we think it's going to?
I'm just so proud of it. When it's done, I know, you know, it's brilliant because I've worked so hard to get it there. So
yeah, and that's why your reputation is where it is, because you clearly care and you clearly go the extra mile, and you clearly, you know, make your mum's life living hell.
Well, you know, she still wants to spend time with me on a night when we get in from work, so I don't think I'm that bad.
Thank goodness.
But yeah, it's at the very beginning when I opened the shop, I was obviously only 18, and people would walk in and just gravitate to her because she's older, and it was, you know, and she'd be like, I have no idea. You need to go to her. Like, I don't know, you know, I'm not a florist. You need to go to Becca. Whereas now, obviously, most people do know it's me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fantastic. I couldn't work with anybody else as well as we gel, because obviously I'm not scared to tell her if she's doing something wrong, and vice versa. You've got none of this like, oh, I think you should, you know, it's no, and you just get the job done. And I trust her implicitly to have my interests at heart, because obviously at the end of the day, this is my baby. And I know everybody says that about their business, but obviously I was only 18. It's all I've known. And I've worked so hard to get to where I am. So my reputation in the floristry it feels it's all me. It's like, if somebody praises that, it's me. So it's, you know, it means so much.
Yeah, and I think that heart and soul is so important when you're dealing with, you know, on paper, the most important day of somebody's life. It's a real what's the word? It's a real honour to be able to do flowers for people's wedding days. So I think that's so lovely that there's so much passion behind it as well.
I've got one thing that I've noticed in the last few years is a lot of my sort of peers from college and school are all getting married. And I've had, that is a big privilege as well. Like, obviously strangers is a massive privilege, but I think from people that knew me when I was 10 and 11 and 12, for them to then think, because obviously we always just see people, don't we, from school as, oh, you were that person at school. Yeah. Whereas now for them to see me as their wedding florist, it's a very important role to put on somebody that you maybe knew at 12. So it is a real honour when somebody who I know especially chooses me. And it's got, as again, that backstory of, you know, what I did somebody's wedding last year where we used to play in each other's garden pool and, you know, go to Flamingo Land together and stuff. So it is lovely, like all walks of it, the connections that you can have.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Let's talk then a little bit about weddings and inspiration for the couples watching. So what if people wanted to have a smaller wedding? Like, what would you suggest they do with their florals to have impact, I guess?
Well, I think that's happened quite a lot this year, especially since the latest announcement. We've got lots of extra weddings that we maybe wouldn't have been able to fit in normally. But obviously we've had a lot of postponements, so dates have become available and stuff like that. And they're small in number, but not small in flower. They've gone maybe 15 or 30 people for the wedding, and then they've got the bridal flowers, bridesmaids, all of that, but they've put aside a chunk for a big piece. So an archway or like columns or churns, like that maybe if they were having a big wedding where they had a lot of people to cater for, like quite literally cater for them, they maybe wouldn't be able to have. So that's like a bonus of going small.
It really is.
Yeah, isn't it? They've spent more money on, or even the same amount of money on doing more.
I love it. Big. I think like luxing up a wedding in whatever way. I mean, you don't have to go super luxury. I don't mean like that. I don't mean Kardashian your wedding. I mean add oomph to all your bits. Yeah. And if you know, if you can have an amazing floral backdrop, go for it, because it's going to look so good on the pictures. And, you know, lots of people can't attend, so they're going to want to see the pictures. And the smell as well is going to be incredible in the room with less people and more flowers. Oh,
I think, obviously, I love like little jars and things like that. They're lovely. But then I think that the biggest impact is the big, like a big piece. So I think we've got loads of different arches, and I'm sure I talked about this last time as well, but we'll have loads of new brides watching this, new grooms and as well. So we've got loads of arch structures that obviously we can then do to how you want. So wooden ones, moon gates, big moon gates, all sorts. I think I'm doing a heart-shaped one, a big heart-shaped one.
I love that.
I mean, bride might have changed her mind because obviously it's been maybe 2 years since the original, you know, but big hat is planned. And yeah, we can do greenery full with a little bit of flower or flower everywhere. Drapes, so that's quite popular on the moon gate, and like the wooden ones is like the nice like soft chiffon-y drapes and things alongside the flowers. So that's nice. And then the good thing about them is they aren't just for the ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
They're still there for your photos. And then on the evening they're there if you want them for like photos for, you know, instead of a photo booth.
Yeah.
There's all different things that you can do with them. So you do get your money's worth out of,
I think so,
because they're there all day and they are such a big eye-catching piece.
What's funny, isn't it, is that what you would kind of suggest for the smaller wedding, what you just described, you would almost suggest the same thing for a really big wedding. You'd add in centerpieces and XYZ to it.
Yeah.
It's interesting that it doesn't really have to change just because your numbers have changed.
No, and I think that's the main thing. Like, you can go big if you want to. Like, and I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that if you're having a smaller wedding, your options maybe are a bit more open, budgeting wise, is all, like, you know, because if you're having a wedding for 100 people at a lovely big venue and you've got 100 people to cater for, you've got like 100 people's tables worth, so maybe 10 tables, you've got a lot of flour to sort for on the tables and all of that, so maybe there wouldn't be budget left over for a big piece. Whereas if you only need 4 or 5 tables, you've automatically, you've got, you know, if you put in blah amount, you've got that chunk that you could use. And obviously I'm not saying you have to have one.
No.
I would say that, you know, benefit.
We are really.
Yeah, well, we are really, like, come on, all the arches, come on.
I mean, we've got a florist here, a wedding florist, and a wedding magazine editor here. Obviously, we like statement pieces.
Fireplaces are a big one as well. Fireplaces, I love.
Oh yeah, I love the dressed fireplace.
Have you seen that one that we did at Dr. Barnes? I'm not sure. That, I love that one. I know I'm like blowing my own trumpet, but when I think it was Bloom Photography with the photographers for that one. So obviously I'd taken the photos of, like, for myself on the morning, and then and loved it. But then they obviously had the photos where the fairy lights were on and the candles were lit, and it just looked so magical in there. It's a lovely venue.
It's a beautiful venue, and Chris and Annie are such good photographers as well, that they really kind of, it's a hard venue to shoot in sometimes because of the lighting, because of the fairy lights and the sort of depth of tone, and they really brought your flowers to life. I remember that image. I shared it actually for you, for Dr. Barnes, and for Chris and Annie at Bloom Weddings, so I know the image that we're talking about.
It's just gorgeous.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's really, really lovely. And I like that, you know,
like a meadowy type fireplace, and I think that really came out nicely. Obviously that suited the venue, whereas if you are in more of a stately home type or like that type of thing, then you would maybe need something a bit more formal. But then I'm all for chucking the rule book out the window anyway.
Yeah, same.
So, you tend to go a bit more structured in a country house type, but then like I say, I do just go with whatever you prefer. And
yeah, I love a meadow vibe in a stately home.
Yeah,
I love that.
Did you see? Well, you will have seen it because it was bright. The one that we did at Rugby Hall year before.
Mm-hmm.
That again, that was very much bright and sort of showing that you don't have to stick to what you would expect of maybe pastel or whatever in the regal sort of places. You can go bold with it because it does. Is it a juxtaposition?
It is a juxtaposition.
You know, bringing out the English there. I think that is good. Like that clashing of thing does work. So
it's what we do all the time with the magazine. We like to kind of push the boundaries, and but we're not doing it for to be different or for impact. Well, we are doing it to be different and for impact, but we're not just doing it for that. We're doing it to inspire the couples that actually they could have that on their big day, and it will look incredible, super stylish to play with space.
If every florist and every magazine and everyone did the same things and never sort of encouraged or inspired their couples to go outside the box,
then
every wedding would look the same.
So, and we're not just doing it for the sake of it either. It's because we think it will look good. That's the point. That actually we think, well, I'll never do something that I think, well, this wouldn't work for a real wedding day, or we're just doing it to force the envelope. It's got to be something inspirational.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things there. One, I'm not a yes florist, so this it might mean I'm not for everybody, but I'm honest with it. So if you come to me and say, I want navy blue roses, or I want I don't know, I can't think.
Although you know what, I do want navy blue roses now that you've said that.
Oh, you would.
Well, it's because of your background. It's because your wallpaper in the background, Becca, if I'm honest. That beautiful navy blue floral wallpaper is making me think, I would like to see some navy blue roses.
Well, you're not going to get them from me. No,
I am. I'm gonna get them from you in the future.
I won't do it, so it's not happening. No, I think I'm very much of, I will be honest and say that flower is maybe dyed, or that's maybe artificial that's in there, or if somebody comes to me and says, I want to put this with this, I'm like, that's not gonna work. You can do it if you want, but I don't personally think it's going to work. Or my main one is, if somebody comes to me in August or September and wants peonies, they're not available. It's not going to happen. But you can, some suppliers will supply them, but they're rotting, or, they've just blown open. They're not good. They've been held back since May. So it's not good. So I say, no, that won't work. But there's David Austin roses. There's all sorts of alternatives. Because my worst nightmare would be turning up on your wedding day and you saying, Becca, why didn't you tell me that would be blah? Why didn't you say that wouldn't work? That's what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure that you get the best out of your flowers. And I wouldn't be doing my job properly, in my opinion. Wouldn't be doing my job properly.
I agree.
If I think sometimes everything. Yes, that's fine. Yes, I can't see a problem with that. Like, if I do see it, then I mean, obviously things, everyone could be wrong, and you might get a perfect peony, but I'm not willing to risk it for you. That's like for you on your day. That's not what.
I know. I think as well that peony thing. I mean, peonies became a popular wedding flower because of Pinterest, because they were seen everywhere, because they became this sort of stylistic point. But sometimes people think they want peonies, but they don't necessarily. And when they might come to you and say, I love this peony look, because they know the name peonies.
Yes.
And then once you start saying to them, well, actually, when I break down this image, it's got a lot of anemones in it, or it's got, ranunculus, or it's got David Austin roses. So we can get that look.
A lot of the time when you break it down with a client about peonies, it's the texture, the ruffledness of it that they like. And therefore, when you show them a David Austin David Austin rose, or you show them a carnation even, and like the humble carnation, if you show them those, it's the ruffles that they love.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have some flowers here from a client, and it's a ruffled tulip.
I love those.
And aren't they beautiful?
Tulips, yeah, love them.
Yeah, they're just like a lovely.
They have so much texture.
Beautiful. Ooh,
Yeah.
and I'll just pop it out the way.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's all about advising on what is and isn't possible, and then, you know, I quite often get couples come and say, "Oh, we think that this is what we want. We want maybe like I've just done a chat this morning with somebody, and she was talking about like pale blues and whites." But then as we were flicking through my pale blue sort of gallery, she was like, "Oh, I like that with a bit of soft pink." And I said, "All right, yeah, that's good." I said, "But you were thinking no, I like that." And it's because if they've Pinterested or whatever blue, like flowers to go with blue and white, then that might be all that comes up. But then if you broaden their search and say, well, actually, this might make it a bit different. Obviously, if they don't want that, that's absolutely fine. But 9 times out of 10, they say, "Oh, I'd never thought of that," and that's perfect. So.
Yeah, because essentially Pinterest is great, okay, for wedding inspiration, but it is a search engine. It's not a social media network, it's a search engine. And so, like you say, if you're going to search blue and white wedding, that's what you're going to get, because that's Pinterest's job to deliver you the correct search stuff once you've searched it. So, yeah, I think the real life, I mean, like I say, it's got its place, but you have to then go to the people in the know, to the experts who are going to say, okay, we can take that, but we can do this. Yeah. And it's going to be better.
I think that's the other thing as well. Like when people bring bouquets in of pictures of bouquets, and my words today, I'm struggling, aren't I? Pictures of bouquets or table centers or whatever. My main thing is I won't copy someone else, because the florist or the couple, that's not, you know, it's not right. But we can go very similar and make tweaks and make it, like I've said, make it your own version. So I think that's the thing. Like if you bring in a picture of a bouquet and you say, I want it exactly like that, I think sometimes people do that because they're struggling to find inspiration, and it's I like that, I'll go with that, I'll have that. But I think what I want people to know about me is I'll take that time to get it so that you find something that you actually love, rather than I'll have that one,
rather than that'll do.
Yeah, you want it to be perfect for what you want. So does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I love your ethos, Becca. Let's finish off by, okay, so can you see any trends emerging?
See, that's a bit of a tricky one for me at the moment, because I am dealing with lots of different clients from all walks of their process, like all walks of their journey in their wedding. So I've got clients for this year who've maybe had their whole wedding planned for maybe October, and then it move into a spring wedding. So then they are going, but then they're having to work with what dresses they've got, but bringing it in. So I think a lot of the trends for me at the moment, when I'm dealing with my clients who are having to postpone to different seasons, different times of year, is making their non-negotiables, so like dresses that they can't go out and buy them all again and stuff like that, making that work. So if you've got like a deep cranberry or a mulberry or a navy, using flowers that are going to brighten that, bring it from autumn and winter and make it suit the summer, because it can be done. And I think that's
it can be done.
To be brought from it is, you know, don't worry about that, because it can work. So like I say, I've got a lot of changing seasons, which it can be complex, but we work with it. And then my 2022 ones, which are obviously mostly new people, a lot of it is the relaxed vibe. I think I've seen less dusky pink, dare I say?
Yeah,
less
I agree.
Dusky pink than normal. Obviously, dusky pink's still beautiful, but I think that's where my ideas come in with that. In that, when I do dusky pink, it doesn't look like every other dusky pink you've ever seen. We use different flowers to make it a bit different.
I'd agree with you. So you're seeing like a move towards working with the seasons, I guess.
Yeah.
because of necessity, but I think that's lovely. I love that change. And I think a cranberry or a navy does work well in spring, and it does work well in autumn. Sometimes better in spring, dare I say.
Anything with a bright flower is gonna brighten it up.
I think as well we will see more of a move towards colour, because people are excited to celebrate, and they don't want, they've had all this time at home, and they don't want something that's just a box ticking exercise for their wedding. They want to go wow, and they want to, celebrate and party. And I think that's why you start to see, because when you think about celebration, you think of fiesta, you think of colour.
Yes.
And that's where that's going to start coming through for sure. Or they'll go all white.
You can't go wrong with classic, can you? I think that one of the most popular colours that I've been dealing with is maybe like the greens, like green dresses and things.
Sage green.
Yeah, and even forest green, which I love. That's one of my. I think it's with Been a Redhead. The forest green's a good combo. I think that's about what I would say. I'm on the less dusky pink, more sagey greens, and that goes with any type of colour. Maybe a bit more blues have come in. But again, like I say, the Pantone colour of the year that comes out every year. For me, that's totally gone, and it's gone the distance, because people have maybe picked the Pantone colour for that year, and then the Pantone's different for the year after. So it is just a minefield. But I think the main thing to think is you don't have to be on trend.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, I never set any stall by the Pantone colour, because
no,
that can be a mixed bag. I mean, some years they get it spot on, but mainly not. Sorry, Pantone. I set kind of my stall on.
Has one of the ones recently been the purple again?
I think it was yellow and grey was the most recent.
Oh, yeah.
The two
notice I take, obviously.
Or it could have been purple. This is how much notice I take as well. So
because I listen to the couple and what they want, like you say, and you just go with it.
I think so. I think I love a trend, a trend watch rather than a trend follow. So I like to kind of see what the zeitgeist is doing, basically, and see where we're going with things, because that's my job as a magazine editor, and
absolutely
love it. I love doing that. But I like to also help to create trends. So we'll see where we go with the next issue later on this year. It's exciting times. So Rebecca, if brides and grooms want to contact you, where do they go? If you tell me some info, I'll put it on the screen.
theCountrysideflorist.net. I think I've got .com and .co.uk as well, but .net gets you there. Instagram is The Countryside Florist. Facebook is The Countryside Florist. I did real well. I picked a name that nobody else has. I think that's the main ones to find me on. And like I said earlier, the way to get in touch first is the website. So
Perfect.
Whichever social you come to, I will probably send you down the website route, because it's just easiest all round. And then we get talking and see where it goes.
Oh, and creating some beautiful florals this year and next and into the future. So let's get going. Well, Rebecca, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for being our guest today.
Thanks for having me.
And I will see you later on.
Take care. Thank you.